Because I want to hear about you went to temple.
No.
No, come on, just tell me.
What? No, because we learned Hebrew, you know. I knew how to read.
I never knew that.
And at that time, there was the characters were new. It was not the old characters like you have. It was more rounded, the characters. I still remember that.
Do you think it was script?
Were
the letters attached? Do you remember? Was it script?
No, it was not script. No. It was what they called the modern Hebrew.
Not like this Hebrew?
No. Find out. Because I remember this Hebrew too, I learned. And then, towards the end of my Hebrew lessons or whatever, schooling...
It must have been script, because there's only two ways to do it. Like English, it's capital letters or, like or script.
No. All I remember is that it was rounded
cursive
more instead of the...
blocks.
Yeah.
So interesting. So can you read this at all?
No, I tried a little bit, because they said it came back, but on my own I couldn't.
I never knew you knew how to do that.
Well,
that's what's interesting to me about going to services, to tell you the truth. It's like, it's the songs, but also I love to follow along the Hebrew. And the translation is so different, the Hebrew to the English. It's like a completely different thing. And I always say that to you every year. It's much richer in Hebrew. It's just much, makes more sense. The English is like...
For one thing, it's the original.
Yeah.
So they have all the feeling.
Yeah. No, it's very...
I'm reading a book on, what's his name? Stefan Zweig. And this is the second one I'm reading. And it's translated from German into English. He wrote in German. I had previously read a book by him, his last days, and it was in French. And the French translation was fabulous. This German translation, speaking German,
the English translation.
This English translation from German, I can follow the German thought.
You can.
I can. And I think it's very disturbing. Here I am. What, did I read that right?
Right.
Why didn't you get it in German?
In German, I got it.
No, why didn't you have the book?
What's her name? Irene, her husband buys these books, and she lent it to me. I would never have thought of buying. I know Stefan Zweig was very well known. My mother talked a lot about him too, and Rainer Maria Rilke, and so on and so forth. These were German Viennese, actually, before.
I read Rilke.
Yeah, he was wonderful, and he talks about that. It's called something, I always forget. It's called something of the past,
Well, Proust wrote Remembrance of Things Past, but that's not the same thing.
Yeah, no, that's different. But he talks about Proust. He was really something, And he sort of he was born before the before the First World War, he was born in 1890 or something. And he taught these little kid then, but then he gets older, and then he is in college and so on, and so, and he committed suicide in 1942 in Brazil, but so he makes a parallel how wonderful it was to live when he was about 20 and then 30 in Vienna, especially when he was a student.
Right.
How they had no worries. Nobody had any worries,
Right.
Yeah, there was a proletariat, there were, but there was, the high, what do you call it? What was it?
You mean the economy?
L'Empereur and all these, the high. It was not king or queen. It was higher, but it was royalty. It was all royalty at that time too.
Oh, in Vienna, because it was
Vienna,
the Prussian. It was the Prussian. Franz because it was the Prussian Empire, or whatever it was.
Empire. That's
it was the Austro-Hungarian.
Yes, right.
Empire.
That's the
right.
word I was thinking.
There's no tradition of democracy
so they
in
never
Germany.
thought that something
there
could
were
happen
emperors.
until somebody was, and that's what started apparently the First World War.
Somebody shot the Archduke of
Hungary, I think. Was it
Yugoslavia.
Hungary?
I think it was Yugoslavia.
or Bavaria or
Yeah,
Batavia
in
or
that area anyhow.
I don't think it was
And
then
that's
called
how
Yugoslavia. That came later. Yugoslavia was a later formulation.
And he talks about this, I don't remember the name, this guy, a German Jew, who then when Germany got involved, and all these things.
World War I we're in now.
Yeah.
Pre.
Now
yeah.
we are World War I, yeah.
Right.
And the way this German Jew who was talking, doing all this propaganda, all the advertisement for the German against. He was not a German Jew. He was a Jew from Vienna, from
the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Right.
Yeah, but he was for the German, and this guy that I'm reading, of course, not at all. And he was just he was attacking all in his writings, but it had to be, he couldn't publish it,
So why did he commit suicide? Why?
Well, the first book, this book I'm almost done, it's big. The first one was called The Last Days of Stefan Zweig. He married late. He left, actually, Hungary, he left Vienna in 1930. So it's before the Second World War. And he left everything. He left his books, and he was known, very well known already, and a library. He left everything, went to England. And in England, he had visited England previously as a student, so he was pretty well traveled. And there, in England, he met his wife, married, no children, and they stayed in England. His love for his homeland never left him. And then, of course, his whole family was wiped out in wherever, in
Austria,
in Vienna. And so from there, they went to America. And he was helping Jews he was well known, Jews who wanted to leave Germany, who wanted a laissez-passer so they could leave Germany.
He was one of that. There was a small group of Jews who
who
got passage. He was one of those, I think.
He did that.
Right, got him. Right.
But he also said how America, and then of course the talk said how, this is now the second book I'm reading, how America under Roosevelt,
shut the door.
Yeah, shut the door. Switzerland shut the door. Everything but Shanghai. That's where a lot of people went. I have that book if you want to read it. It's very good.
The way they went to, we talk about, they went to.
Oh, I know. So he went
China.
from there. Yeah, China. That's another story. But this here, so he went from there to America, and in America, he was for a while. He liked it. He thought New York was fabulous.
Wasn't he at the New School?
But what?
Wasn't he at the New School for Social Research when it's Hannah Arendt, all those people? Wasn't he part of that group, Hannah Arendt and Stephen Zweig?
Not that I didn't talk about the New School. Maybe he gave lectures or whatever it was.
Well, it was just started.
But whatever, he then, a lot of things bothered him, and he left. They left for Brazil. And that's where they stayed a while, and then they both together committed suicide.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But
what was happening in 1930, 1932? Richard's, my brother's girlfriend, Susie's father and two brothers came over around then.
Yeah.
And they were from Hamburg or Frankfurt or one of the big cities. Yeah. What was going on in 30 or 32? Do you remember?
I was 3 years old then, so I don't know. But when did Hitler came to power? Hitler came to power in 33 or something.
Right, but there was 33. A build-up to it.
But there was a build-up, yeah. There was a build-up, and of course the economy was very bad.
Right.
So it's sort of, not history repeats itself, but in Germany that's what it was. And of course some strong guy, it's the fault of all what's not clean, rein means clean, which means white.
The Aryan.
That's right. Is garbage. you know, I mean, Hitler didn't just kill Jews, mainly
of course,
Jews,
yeah.
but he killed homosexuals, he killed people
Gypsies.
that are
Gypsies.
gypsies, people who were deformed,
Right.
Blacks.
blacks, of course, but, you know, people who were not quite normal.
You know what else I just learned over here in the
Wait a minute, you're saying that Jews are not quite normal?
No, I said...
No, but it's true that they're
No,
mentally
also
ill.
people who were not... I said not only
Yeah,
Jews.
yeah.
At the synagogue just now, we were talking about the Reform movement. Apparently, the German Jews in the United States started the Reform movement, and one of the reasons they became so less traditional than they are now, actually, but the original, like 40 years ago, the Reform movement was very not traditional.
Uh-huh.
So, like, you couldn't wear a yarmulke in a Reform synagogue, you couldn't wear a tallis, and they said that there were some in the Hebrew Union, the Union of Hebrew whatever congregations, which was the umbrella organization of Reform synagogues. They actually had policy decisions, platforms, to disallow this because they didn't want to invite all the immigrants from Eastern Europe who were Orthodox, and they weren't wealthy, they weren't educated, so there was this kind of class thing going on. With,
in Germany?
No, in the United States,
the
Reform...
because in Germany we belonged to a Reform temple. We didn't call it synagogue. It was called temple.
Well, when that movement came here, and then there were these waves of immigrants, this was a way for the moneyed German Jewish to keep it separate. Very
That
interesting.
must be why that place that Mark and Pat have their kids' bar mitzvahs.
Oh yeah, that's German.
Totally,
so
like
high,
a church.
Too high.
High.
That's
Hygiene.
Temple Emmanuel.
Yeah, I hate it
Is
there.
that what that is?
Yeah, it's called Temple
The old
Emmanuel.
Eastern European Jew in me hates that place.
Yeah, well, Temple Emmanuel was founded by the German Jews.
Right. Well, they're no... I mean, here I am, a second-generation American, but I don't even like to set foot in there because it feels to me like a church. So you could imagine what my grandfathers or grandmothers who really were shtetl Jews, if they took one look at that, they'd say, this isn't Jewish.
No. Well, we, in Enghien, we belonged to a temple. Not Hasidic, but it was a temple. But the men were separated from the women.
Really?
Yeah, the men. It was very small. In Enghien, you know, it's small, and so it was a big room, and then you had on the side, both sides, there were the men, and on the sides where the women was, I think there was a gate.
With that kind of thing, like that kind of
no, it was
lattice?
Metal gate.
So it wasn't side by side, it was the men in the middle and the women all around.
Yeah. On each side, not around. That's how, it was a very small synagogue. I still remember the rabbi's name was Chernaya.
Chernaya?
Yeah.
How do you spell that?
I don't know. S-C-H Chernaya. S-C-H-E-R-N-I-A, something like that. I think
they mentioned Schindler actually in this session I stayed for there. They did mention Schindler. He was one of the people who liberalized the patrilineal-matrilineal thing.
It's too bad that what was annoying today was sad actually, that you couldn't hear the lady when she was talking.
Right.
Some people were laughing at certain times, but I didn't get anything because I didn't hear what you were saying.
Yeah, I think that's partly where we chose to sit. If we gotten there earlier, we could. I think if you're straight up or downstairs it was much better. But we didn't want to sit downstairs. Anyway, we got there a little late. Daniel, you look like you want to take a nap.